Today we're going to look at the $400 Etha 3M. It's a mechanical version of the brand new Etha 3 from Planet Eclipse. We're going to look at some things I like, things I don't like, what's new, and compare it to the competition. The thing I like the most about the Etha 3M has to be the trigger and valve. And really this Etha 3M is kind of just based on the eMech. You could kind of think about the Etha 3M as really just an upgraded eMech. Think of maybe like an eMech Pro or something like that. And having this upgraded trigger and valve is fantastic because that's probably the most two common things that people are upgrading on the eMech. The eMech has kind of a long, heavier trigger pull, so the rate of fire maybe isn't as high as it could be. So now with this Etha 3M, they're going to ship with the FL3 valve. The FL3 valve is much lighter weight and shorter trigger pull than like that stock eMech valve. So you're going to get a higher rate of fire. I think for me, I'm probably only shooting maybe like 5 to 6 balls a second with my eMech, totally stock. And then with the FL3 valve and this better trigger on this Etha 3M, I don't know, maybe I can shoot like 8. So maybe you're getting like a, I don't know, 15 to 20% improvement in performance, just rate of fire wise, having that shorter trigger pull and that adjustable trigger. I mean, the bad part about the trigger though is you can only adjust the backstop or the post travel. So you can't adjust how far the trigger kind of adjusts forward, and you cannot adjust the activation point. It will take eMech triggers though. The trigger frame is identical to the eMech, so if you want a trigger that's fully adjustable like the infamous or Exalt trigger, you can pick one of them up at bfpgear.com, the sponsor of this video. Or maybe if you have an eMech, you could pick up that FL3 valve and a trigger, and then now you got something really close to this Etha 3M. bfpgear.com. I mean, really, they've been doing this longer than some of you guys have been alive. Buy an Etha 3M, it ships for free. I mean, they're $400, guys. I'm also really not a fan of the way the trigger's shaped. They have a really flat, kind of squared face. I've always found that like flatter shape is a little bit more difficult to shoot. I definitely like the rounder style that we're finding on the stock eMech trigger or like those infamous triggers. It's just a little bit easier. I think when I'm like cramped in a bunker or like holding it weird, that shape, that rounder face is just a little bit easier to apply pressure to than that really square shape. And the second best thing has to be that gamma core. And now it's toolless, so you can just slide it up and pop it right out and you've got the bolt out of the gun. Slide it in and pop it down and then she's back inside. Having the toolless bolt just makes it really easy, so next time you're on Hoth and your gun's frozen over, you can get the bolt out quicker. You know, it's really kind of crazy we can get paintball guns this good that are only $400. I mean, when I started playing paintball, I had a Spider shutter. I put a cool 16-inch barrel on it, and that was $400. The thing was a cannon. I mean, you shot the thing, it was like, you'd think it was gonna knock you over, and everyone can hear you coming from a mile away. So having a gamma core in a gun that's $400, that's this quiet, it shoots crazy smooth, they're extremely reliable, it's quiet, you can shoot any paint. It'll shoot in a blizzard, you can shoot on any planet. It's probably the best bolt system in paintball. I mean, it's coming in all of the Planet Eclipse guns, right? You can get it in this $400 gun. And then there's like a higher end version in the CS2. It's great. Gamma core, I mean, you can't light it on fire and it works. The Etha 3M is also gonna come with 2 more fantastic upgrades that the eMech was lacking. It's gonna come with a 14.5-inch barrel and the pops on off ASA. So having both those things just kind of make the gun quite a bit nicer. Having that 14.5-inch barrel makes the gun much, much quieter. It's something that we kind of figured out when the eMech first came out. You can see right there the difference just between the stock barrel and just a random 14-inch barrel is noticeable. And you're going to see that same difference between the stock barrel on the eMech and then that, you know, upgraded one we're seeing on this Etha 3M. It's very good. All the Planet Eclipse barrels are great. They're calling it a shaft 5 barrel. Why not? Having the pops on off is also really cool. It just allows you taking your tank on and off much easier. You don't have to like struggle manhandling it off or like shoot your gun to take the tank off. You just pop this little lever, air goes off, and you just unscrew it. It helps save the threads on your tank, helps save the O-ring on your tank, and then we'll also keep the threads nicer on that on-off just because you don't dealing with pressure pushing back on the regulator and, you know, and they've also upgraded to an aluminum feed neck. I didn't really have too big of a problem with the feed neck on the EMEC, but it didn't really make all that much sense, right? So the EMEC comes with the PAL system that's supposed to work with the PAL hopper and PAL feed neck. You shoot the gun, this little post goes up, and then actually like kind of activates the hopper to kind of agitate in there and help a paintball fall down. But you know, I don't ever use that. I'm using an electric hopper. I mean, I have a Spire 4. I have a $250 hopper on my $300 paintball gun. The feed neck is aluminum. It just makes it feel a little bit nicer, maybe a little bit more solid. You know, you're clamping the feed neck, it just feels a little nicer. The EMEC had that glass reinforced one, that PAL feed neck, and sometimes when you're like pulling the lever really hard, it kind of freaks me out. It makes me feel like I'm gonna like break it off. You know, for $400, I can't believe how good we can get paintball guns now, right? Like I said, my Spider Shutter was about this price, you know, 20 something years ago, and it was awful. I mean, at the time it wasn't really even good. And these things are fantastic. I mean, now you're starting to play paintball, you can get a $400 paintball gun that shoots just as well or just as good and fantastic as all of those really, really high-end $1,500 guns. It's pretty cool.